Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Haraya Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Nama, Haraya Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Nama, Hare Haraya Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Nama, Haraya Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Nama, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama, Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan, 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 Giridhari Gopinath Madana Namaha, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Namaha, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Namaha, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita, Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita, Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita, Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita, Hare Haraya Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Nama, Haraya Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Nama, Hare Haraya Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Nama, Haraya Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Nama, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama, Nitai Gauranga, 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 Jai Satchidananda Gaura Hari, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Pari Rajikacharya Ashokatara Shishimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Prams Kaho Shri Krishna, Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopa Gopinath, Shyam Kund, Radha Kund, Giri Govardhan ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki. Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki. Jagannath Puri Dham ki. Ganga Mai, Yamuna Mai ki. Bhakti Devi, Tulsi Devi ki. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki. Shri Brihad Pradanga ki. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Lord's feet of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Shri Padaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Lada Daine. Hiranyakashe Purvashama.
Shiladanka Nakalaye.
Shiladanka Nakalaye.
Narashinga Paradurashinga. Narashinga Paradurashinga. Ratanagadami Tatonashinga.
Yato Yato Yami Tatonashinga.
Adira Shinga, Adira Shinga, Adira Shinga, Adira Shinga, Ashinga Marim Sharanam Nirpade,
Ashinga Marim Sharanam Nirpade,
Tavakara Kavare Naka, Adhuta Shinga, Raita Hiranakasipu. Pranalinga Keshavarita Hariropa Jaya Jagadisha
Jai. Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to our Sunday virtual program. We thank you so much for joining us and staying connected during this time. We made an announcement that we're going to continue this virtual program for the remainder of the month of January. The numbers of COVID, this new spike has been quite high in this area. It hasn't gone down yet, but we're hoping over the next couple of weeks it'll start to go down. At this point, so many people have had it. If any of you are suffering from it right now, we definitely pray for you that you recover quickly. But we just want to keep everybody safe during this time, and we do have this option of going virtually, although it's not the same, of course, as being in the temple room with each other. Given the situation, I'm grateful that we have this opportunity to still have Krishna Katha and share with each other. We have devotees here on Zoom as well as an audience on YouTube. Unfortunately, we can't see those of you that are on YouTube, but we welcome you as well. What we like to do before we begin our Bhagavad Gita discourse for the week, we want to do a quick virtual darshan so that all the devotees at home can see Srila Prabhupada and Lord Krishna. So this is where I ask everybody to go off of mute if you would like, and then I'll show a picture of the deities and we can all glorify the deities by saying Jai. So start here with His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Parama Karuna, Shri Gaur Nitai ki.
Jai.
Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki.
Jai.
It's an important aspect of devotional life to be able to meditate on the form of the Lord, and the different features of the Lord. And one way to do that is to be able to appreciate the different ways the Lord is decorated. The beautiful turbans, the beautiful garlands that the devotees make for them, the jewelry, the way their dresses are hanging. And then, of course, the beautiful bodily features. The most beautiful lordship, Shri Shri Radha Sharad Bihari Ki
Jai.
Jai. So during this time that we're shut down, we do offer a darshan every night from 6:30 to 8 o'clock, Monday through Saturday. And then on Sunday, we have a darshan from 6 o'clock to 7:15. So after this class, if you would like to come and take darshan of the Lord, you're more than welcome to. However, beware, there is a winter storm warning in effect. Sometime around 5 o'clock, we're supposed to get snow in this area. So if you do come, please be careful. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our speaker for tonight. We have with us His Grace Shyam Kumar Prabhu. Welcome, Shyam Prabhu. We're so happy to have you. So Shyam Kumar Prabhu is a very wonderful devotee. He's a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And Shyam Prabhu has played many different, or has performed many different services here at ISKCON of Philadelphia, in which we should all be very thankful for his dedication. He has served as vice president here at ISKCON of Philadelphia for several years. He served on the board of directors. He's very instrumental in the Philadelphia Rath Yatras and making them success year after year. Most recently, he's been, him and his wife, Rati Priya, and they've had their daughter, Urja. This happened right around COVID time, when COVID happened. So unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to have much association with Shyam Kumar during that time, but we're certainly looking forward to having more and more of it as time goes on. Shyam, we welcome you, and we're going to hand it over to you. We're going to spotlight you. The way we'll do it is the verse will be put up on the screen. If you want to chant Jai Radha Madhava, and then I'll put the verse up on the screen. We like to make it interactive as much as possible while on Zoom. So while it's up on the screen, you chant the verse 3 times, and then we can open it up to the audience if they would like to chant as well, if that's okay with you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let us start by chanting Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Paradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Paradhari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamunatiravanacharya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Bhujana Vallabha Girivaradhari Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Bhujana Vallabha Girivaradhari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivradakacharya Satra Satra Shri Divine Graces of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Vishnupada Parivradakacharya Satra Satra Shri Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Brajat Bhumi Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navdeep Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the simple devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the simple devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the simple devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, Pruna Prabhu, if you could put up the verse text. Thank you. So, those who can, please repeat. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, text number 31. Nayam lokastayagnasya Nayam kutonya kurusattama
Kuto anya kurutastama
Nayam lokasvayagnasya
Nayam lokasyata yagyasya
Kutonya kurusattama
Kuto anya kurutastama
Nayam lokastvayajnasya
Nayam lokasta ajnanya
Kutonya kurusattama
Kuto anya kurutastama.
Please feel free.
Nayam lokostu agyasya
Nayam
Lokastu agyasya
utonya kurusattama
Kutonya kurutastama Nayam lokasta agyasya
Nayam lokastvayajnasya
Kuto anya kurutastama.
Kutonya kurusattama.
Hare Krishna.
Nayam lokastya ayajnasya kuto
Nayam lokasta
nyasya kuto nyasya kurusattama.
Kuto anya kurutastama.
Hare Krishna.
Nayam lokasta agyastya. Kuto nayam kuro suttama.
Translation. Thank you. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Whatever form of material existence one is in, one is invariably ignorant of his real situation. In other words, existence in the material world is due to the multiple reactions to our sinful lives. Ignorance is the cause of sinful reaction, and sinful life is the cause of one's dragging on in material existence. The human form of life is the only loophole by which one may get out of this entanglement. The Vedas, therefore, give us a chance for escape by pointing out the paths of religion, economic comfort, regulated sense gratification, and at last, the means to get out of the miserable condition entirely. The path of religion, or the different kinds of sacrifice recommended above, automatically solves our economic problems. By performance of yajna, we can have enough food, enough milk, etc. Even if there is a so-called increase of population. When the body is fully supplied, naturally, the next stage is to satisfy the senses. The Vedas prescribe, therefore, sacred marriage for regulated sense gratification. Thereby, one is gradually elevated to the platform of release from material bondage, and the highest perfection of liberated life is to associate with the Supreme Lord. Perfection is achieved by performance of yajna, sacrifice, as described above. Now, if a person is not inclined to perform yajna according to the Vedas, how can he expect a happy life even in this body? And what to speak of another body on another planet? There are different grades of material comforts in different heavenly planets. And in all cases, there is immense happiness for persons engaged in different kinds of yajna. But the highest kind of happiness that a man can achieve is to be promoted to the spiritual planets by practice of Krishna consciousness. A life of Krishna consciousness is therefore the solution to all the problems of material existence. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chaksharam Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manodhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Ke Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you, everyone, for joining remotely today's Bhagavad Gita reading. So let me read the translation again. Verse 4.31. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Nayam lokaha asti ayagnasya. Ayagnaha. That is the word that's being used by Lord Krishna. Ayagnaha. Yagna has two meanings. So for our purpose of discussion, we'll focus on these two meanings. There are other meanings also. So yagna, as we understand, the first meaning of yagna is the fire sacrifice. We've all taken part in fire sacrifice. We've witnessed the fire sacrifice. That is one meaning of yagna. The other meaning of yagna is Vishnuvai yagnaha. The one other name of Vishnu or Krishna is yagna. So in the third chapter, already Krishna has given this meaning. Yagnartat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. He said, if you perform your actions, karma, for yagna artat, for the pleasure of Krishna, then what happens? You are liberated. Otherwise, karma bandhanaha, you are entangled. So here, the meaning yagna is used in the opposite sense. Ayagna, one who does not either perform yagna as a fire sacrifice or one who does not perform his karma or duties as an offering to yagna or Krishna. So either way, ayagnaha means one who does not perform yagna in these two meanings. Either one of those meanings is ayagnaha. So for such a person, ayagnaha na ayam lokaha asti. Na, not ayam this lokaha. Srila Prabhupada translates it as planet. We are in Bhuloka, on this earthly planet. Asti, there is, Srila Prabhupada is translating na ayam lokaha asti. Not this planet exists or there is, as that for this ayagnaha, for this person who does not perform yagna, he can never live happily on this planet. Srila Prabhupada is translating it as na asti, this ayam lokaha, this planet na asti for ayagnaha. For the person who is ayagnaha, one who does not perform yagna, he can never live happily, either in this planet or in this body. Prabhupada talks about that in the Bhagavad. Then kutonyaha. Then where is the question of kutaha anyaha? Kutaha, where is anyaha? Kutonyaha means what? Where is the question of anything else? That is either other planet or some other body. So he cannot be happy in this life. He cannot be happy on this planet. Forget about him being happy in another planet or in another body. Now the question may arise. This may appear contrary to some of our experiences. So we have seen in our real practical experience, there are people who are ayagnaha, who are non-devotees, who are karmis, who are sense gratifiers, who does not perform their activities as an offering to Krishna or as a way of pleasing Krishna. Karmis are non-devotees. We have seen they are extremely happy. There are sometimes when we get surprised, devotees are suffering. Devotees, I'm generally speaking, not specific cases. But there may be a question that arises that's contrary to what Lord Krishna is saying here. That how can ayagnaha, for him, he can never live happily. A question may arise like that. And many devotees that I talked to recently, There was one devotee who was recently introduced to Krishna consciousness about a month, a year or so, and she was chanting very nicely. So there is an obstacle, there's a difficulty that she's facing now, and she is thinking, I have done so much for Krishna. I've chanted 16 rounds, I've done service, but why Krishna is doing this to me? Why this difficulty has come across? There are people that don't chant. There are people that don't do any of the services. They are happy. So why is this happening? There may be a question like this. So to understand this, one has to understand the principle of what is yajna, what is karma, and what is performing, what is the performance, what is the meaning of performing our karma or yajna for Krishna. So if we go back to few verses, in verse number 23, actually Krishna starts by defining this, connecting this to actually in one way to what Srila Prabhupada is talking about in the purport. So Srila Prabhupada is talking about the existence of our current existence in this body and continuation of our existence as in our next body in our next life, the body after that in our next life. What is the cause of this existence of this life or the next life or the next body? Srila Prabhupada is talking about ignorance. Ignorance, agnana. Ignorance is the cause why in the first place we have acquired this body. We'll see more about this in this verse, number 23. So this ignorance actually is propelling us to perform sinful actions, sinful karma, papa karma. That's what Srila Prabhupada is talking about in the purport. So ignorance of who we are, ignorance of who is Krishna, ignorance of why I'm here, ignorance of what is my actual duty. If one is not in knowledge about these things, one is not in absolute knowledge about these things, that means he is in ignorance. So a person who is in ignorance, because he doesn't know what to do, what is his prescribed duties, what he has to do, what happens? He performs his activities in a way that is accruing sin. So ignorance leads to sinful life. And the sinful life, what happens? It propels one to further engage himself in sins. Then the result is what? You are actually entangling yourself in further ignorance. So it's a cycle. Ignorance leads to sin. Sinful life leads to ignorance. So it's a cycle. So ignorance, sin, sin, ignorance, ignorance, sin. So is there a way we can get out of this cycle? When would we get out of this cycle? That is a question that we all need to ask, and that is a question that Krishna is here to answer us. So in one way of answering the question that devotee raised, why Krishna is doing this, karmis are happy. The one way of answering this is it's only by chance that they're happy. One example that could be given is if you are seeing somebody stealing, you've seen them steal, but they never get caught. It seems as if they are never facing the consequences of not following regulated life, as mentioned in the scriptures. One other example is what you're driving in speed limits, and there are people that are driving always above speed limit, 10, 20, 30, 40 miles above speed limit. And then some people would be wondering, oh, they never got, I know this friend who was talking about his friend, he never gets a ticket, even though he is always over the speed limit. And this is actually our ignorance, because we are only seeing that slice of time. If you're driving over the speed limits, it's only a matter of time when you'll get a ticket. If you're a thief, it's only a matter of time before you get caught. So the other example that's given is the silo. You've seen these huge silos that farmers keep to store their grains, huge ones, right? So what happens? A farmer that's growing with his activities, good crop, he keeps filling the silos from the top. Then what happens if there is a farmer that doesn't really pay attention to what he has to do, and he gets a low quality crop? He gets the crop, gets the grains, and then he loads the silo. But when he's taking out the grains, he's taking out from the bottom. So maybe there was grains that were there from the previous harvest season, from the season before that, so when he's taking the grains, somebody that observes him putting bad grains from the top may wonder, when he's taking out, he's getting good grains. So it's the same scenario that this person who is never caught, this person who is going over the speed, are the karmi that are enjoying, they are reaping the benefits of their previous karma. So this is what one has to understand. They will never be able to get away from the reactions of karma. It's coming in one way or the other. It's only a matter of time. So an ignorant person never understands this. But a devotee, because of the mercy of Krishna, because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, a devotee understands this. And Krishna is talking about this in the 23rd verse. He says, Gata sangasya muktasya gnanavastita chetasaha yagnaya acharataha karma samagram praviliyate. So we are talking about the cycle, ignorance leading to sin, sin leading to ignorance. How does one get away from that? Srila Prabhupada talks about one loophole through which we can get away from that. What is the loophole? Human form of life. Not just the human form of life. Anybody that gets a human form of life doesn't necessarily get out of this loophole, necessarily get out of this cycle. Only when he is performing yajna. Yagnaya acharataha karma. It says karma, if you're performing your activities for yagnaya, for yajna, for Vishnu, acharataha, one who performs karma, then what happens? Samagram praviliyate. So all the karma will go away. But how is one able to then perform his activities to Krishna, to yajna? One may ask that. So Krishna is answering that in the same verse. He's saying, Gnana avastita chetasaha. Chetasa, mind. If mind is situated, avastitaha, in gnana, in knowledge. What is the knowledge? We talked about this. Who is Krishna? Who am I? What is my relationship with Krishna? What is my duty here? Why I'm here? Athato Brahma Jignasa. Vedanta Sutra says, now that you are inquire about all these things, what should be my activities? How should I perform those activities? So here the answer is given. The gnana comes from this, from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Sri Bhagavad Gita, from all the scriptures. So a person whose chetasa, whose mind is gnana avastitihi, if it is situated, avastiti, sthiti, in gnana, in knowledge, then what happens? He acharataha, he performs karma, his activities for yajna, for Vishnu, for the pleasure of Vishnu exclusively, nothing else. Then what happens? Samagram praviliyate. Samagram, totally, completely, praviliyate. Laya, we've heard of this. This is a very interesting word that Lord Krishna is using. Praviliyate. There is praliyate, there is viliyate, there is praviliyate. There is this laya means destruction. Samagram laya, samagram, everything gets destroyed. Our karma from millions of births, all that karma is there, stored. All that gets liyate, destroyed. But here Krishna is using praviliyate, vi liyate. There are two upasargas Krishna is using, pra and vi, along with liyate. Viliyate means what? Vi, vishesha liyate. It's a special kind of destruction. There are different kinds of destructions of karma. For example, you don't have to do anything. Just by being in mother's womb, one gets to expend his karma. But in this case, vishesha liyate, the karma that gets destroyed, it's a special kind of destruction. Why? Because we are performing that karma for yajna, for Vishnu. Yajnaya acharata, perform for yajna, that karma then viliyate. And then here praviliyate, praviliyate, prakrishta rupena. Prakrishta means completely. What it does, if one is able to perform karma yajnaya acharata, acharata perform for yajna, karma, then what happens? Prakrishta rupena, vishishtya rupena liyate. Prakrishta rupena means what? Once the karma is, once one starts to perform his activities for Krishna and completely engage his mind, his senses, his body, kaya, vacha, manasa, everything for exclusively for pleasure of Krishna, then what happens? Prakrishta rupena viliyate. Not only all our karma gets burnt, gets destroyed, but prakrishta rupena, one who reaches that stage where one is performing this karma for exclusively the pleasure of Krishna, for him, Krishna has given assurance he will never be again able to perform sinful acts. He will never be in ignorance. Why? Because he is situated gnana avastita chetasaha. His mind is always situated in sthiti, in stage of gnana. So one has to remember this. So the way one can surely accomplish, break the cycle, is how one has to exclusively perform his activities for the pleasure of Krishna. So Krishna actually in the next verse, verse number 24, talks about how one can achieve this. Brahmarpanam brahmahavir brahmagno brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. So how can one make his cycle of birth and death completely get stopped? By performing, he can completely make it stop by yajnaya acharataha karma, by performing karma for yajna, for Vishnu, for Krishna. How does one do that? Or what is one's mindset if one is able to do this? Gnana vastita chetasa. Chetasa, one whose mind is always in gnana avastita. What is his meditation? How does he act? What is his karma like? So that is explained here. Brahmarpanam brahmahave. Brahmagna brahmanahutam. Brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. So his arpanam, whatever he performs, he sees it as Krishna and nothing else. So actually Krishna says this in the 9th chapter. Yad karoshi yadashnashi yadjuhoshi dadasi yad tapasyasi kaunteya tat purushva madarpanam. Yad karoshi, whatever you do, yadashnashi, whatever you eat, yad Vedashnashi, yet juhoshi, whatever you do as an yajna, yet tapasyasi, whatever austerities you offer, yet the dasiyat, whatever you give as dana, tat kurushva, do it as an offering to me. So this person, his activities, his arpanam, what is it? It's Brahma. Whatever he is doing, he is thinking everything is actually Brahma or the Supreme Absolute. Srila Prabhupada translates it as spiritual in nature. Everything is Brahman. How does one understand this? If one is in Gnana Avasthita Chetasaha, he is able to see everything as coming from Krishna. Sarvasya Shah. Krishna is saying this in Ishopanishad. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Yatkincha, whatever little bit is there, jagatyam jagat, within this universe, it is Isha avasyam. It is Isha, Supreme Controller, avasyam, controlled by Supreme. It is all his belongings. It belongs to him. So this Brahma Arpanam, whatever I'm doing, it is only because all this, what I can offer is actually Brahman. It comes from that Supreme Source, that Supreme who is Krishna. Then Brahma Havi, in Yajna, we've seen this, the fire sacrifice, we offer ghee to the fire. So this person who is in Nanavasita Chetasaha, who is doing his karma, Acharataha karma for Yajna, how is he seeing this Havi, whatever he has to offer to Krishna in terms of his possessions, in terms of what he has acquired. He is seeing all that as Brahma, all that as Krishna. Why? Because he very well understands Krishna is a proprietor, Krishna is a creator, and nothing belongs to me. Nirmama Nirahankara. That is his thinking. If one comes to that understanding, nothing belongs to me. All that exists belongs to Krishna. Ishvara, Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. He is Sarva Karana Karanam. Everything, this universe exists. I have been given this body. I have been able to breathe in and breathe out. I have been able to function. Everything. The reason is what? Sarva Karana Karanam, Krishna. That Krishna is Brahma. So everything I'm able to offer is also that Brahman. So this is then Brahmagna Brahmanahutam. So the Agni that we see in fire sacrifice. So this person who is Gnana Vastika Chetasa, whose mind is always in the full knowledge of Krishna, he is seeing that Agni also Brahma. Everything is Brahma. He is seeing Krishna in connection with everything. Krishna is there for him, everything. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam shamai pashyati tasyaham na pranashami sacha name pranashati. Krishna says, Yomam pashyati sarvatra. Yaha, one who, mam, me, pashyati, sees sarvatra, everywhere. One who sees me everywhere. Sarvam chamai pashyati. Sarvam, everything. Cha, also Mai in me, Pashyati sees. One who sees everything in me. Tasyaham na pranashami. He is seeing me always. Sacha name pranashati. And I am seeing him always. That means Krishna is directly controlling, taking charge of the devotee's affairs. So then what happens if one is seeing Krishna everywhere? Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. So this is how one gets released from the cycle of birth and death. Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. Tena, by that person, Brahma eva, Gantavyam goes Brahma Karma Samadhina. His karma is Samadhi in Brahma. What is Karma Samadhi? Karma Samadhi is no matter what I am doing, I'm just doing it for Krishna's pleasure. I'm not doing it for me. That is Karma Samadhi. So actually, Krishna goes on further in the next 4-5 verses to talk about different yajnas. The purpose is what? So that there are different ways depending on what our inclination is, what our natural inclination is. There are different ways we can engage our kaya, vacha, manasa, our body, mind, and senses, body, mind, intelligence, and senses in that way as performing, when we are performing activities, we actually perform it in such a way that we do this for the pleasure of Krishna. So there are examples that Lord Krishna is giving. There are about 4 or 5 verses Lord Krishna talks about how one can actually do this. So briefly, we will see this. Daivameva pare yagnam yogina paryupasate. Yogis, they perform yajna. How? Daivam eva. So these yogis, Srila Prabhupada translates it as brahmacharis in one other in the next verse. But these yogis, how do they perform their yajnas? They offer the oblations to demigods. How do they do this? Because everything that we have is provided by demigods under the direction of Krishna. Sun provides us sunlight. Varuna provides us rain. Vayu provides us air. We need all this for our sustenance. So a yogi actually offers his yajna, his activities, his karma to these demigods. But the highest yogi does what? He's not directly offering it to these demigods, but he is actually offering it to Krishna, situated in these demigods. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha. Krishna says, I'm residing in everyone's heart. So this yogi specifically is grateful. He's grateful to these demigods. He's worshipping these demigods. At the same time, he is actually offering his actions, his activities as a way to please Krishna, who is residing in all their hearts. Brahmagnav apare yagnam yagnena yagnaineva upajihvati. There are others who actually, this is actually, we talked about Brahma Agni. The Agni that exists for all of us. This Agni is seen as Brahma, and Krishna himself. So others, they offer yajna, they offer their karma as an oblation to this Brahma, who is in the form of Agni. Then the next verse, Shotradin Indriyananye Samyam Agnishajuhvati Shabdadin Vishayananya Indriyagnishajuhvati. Shotradin Indriya. So we have Indriyas, 5 working senses and 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Shrotradin Indriya. Shrotra are ears through which we hear. All these Indriyan, Anye, Samyamagnishajuhvati. Samyamya is controlling. So if we are able to control our senses, control our hearing, control our seeing. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, through ISKCON, gave us regulative principles for this purpose. This is a yajna. So if we follow regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds, what is, we are engaging our Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, engaging our tongue and ears, those indriyas we are engaging. Now, if we control our tongue and ears for this specific purpose only, not listen to Prajalpa, not speak Prajalpa, then this is Yajna, controlling our senses. It's a Samyama Agni. So we are actually controlling the senses, and this control of senses is not for our, and we are not using this for our sense gratification, but we are using it for the gratification of Krishna's senses. If that is our meditation, then it becomes yajna. Then shabdadin vishayan anyaha indriyagnishu jihvati. So there are vishayas, sense objects, shabda, rupa, rasa, gandha, sparsha. There are these sense objects through which we enjoy the nature. But then instead of using these sense objects to enjoy ourselves, this body, this mind, this intelligence, instead of using the sense objects for enjoying our senses, if we use the sense objects for enjoyment of Krishna, then that becomes yajna. Actually, we have various examples. Shabdadin Vishayananya. So one example that can be given is Shukadeva Goswami. When Shukadeva Goswami took birth, he actually walked out. He was 16-year-old already. Digambara, he had no clothes on him. So when Shukadeva Goswami is walking away from his house, behind him, Vyasadeva is running. Putra, putra, putra. Putreti tanmayataya taravo habhineduhu. When Vyasadeva is calling his father, Shukadeva Goswami didn't even turn. But then Tara, the trees, they responded to Vyasadeva. But when Shukadeva Goswami is walking, there is this, he comes near this pond where these young women, they were actually playing in the pond without their clothes on. So they saw Shukadeva Goswami coming, and Shukadeva Goswami is very handsome, very well built, very handsome, 16-year-old. But then Shukadeva Goswami also saw them, but he walked away. He's just walking straight. And these women, they continued to do what they were doing. They didn't bother. And when behind him, Vyasadeva came running after his son, seeing this, these young girls, they came out of the water and they started covering themselves. Not to say that, and then actually Vyasadeva is acting, you saw this, there is this young son of mine, he's walking by and you didn't cover yourself, but you're covering yourself, and I'm saying, and I am a Maharishi, I'm a Brahmarshi. Why is this? So the answer is given. What? He is beyond the senses. It doesn't mean that Vyasadeva is not beyond senses. This is just to give us an example of what Shabdadin Vishayan Anya Indriyagnishu Juhvati. That is, Shukadeva Goswami saw these sense objects. But these sense objects, even though he perceived, it was not used for his sense gratification. He said, this is Krishna's. This is there for Krishna's object. So his mind, it did not become vikara. It did not get affected. So these women, these girls, they say this, that he is beyond the sense perception. He is already a liberated personality. So this is the sign of one who is doing yajna for the purpose of Krishna, using his senses, sense objects, etc., for the purpose of Krishna. So we have 5 more minutes. I'll just wrap up in a minute and then we'll take maybe a question or two. So then the next one is talking about Sarvan Indriya Karmani, Prana Karmani Chapare, Atma Samyamya Yogagna, Juhvati Nana Dipite. So Atma Samyamya Yogagna. So for the control of mind, if one is able to use his life air, Prana Karmani, and all his senses, if that control is done for the satisfaction of Krishna. We were talking about Srila Prabhupada establishing regulative principles: no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. Everything is actually for our sense control. We don't engage in any of these. Why? Because we are offering all this as for Krishna's pleasure. We don't want to be we don't want to be the enjoyer of any of these things. And then eventually what happens if one is able to act like this? Ittaror moolam nishechanena drupyanti tat skanda bhujopashaka. So if one is able to water the roots of the tree, which is Krishna, then tat skanda bhujopashakaha drupyanti. That tree, that watering of the roots of the tree, it supplies to skanda bhuja shaka upashaka. The trunk, the branches, the twigs, the leaves, everything gets supplied with what it's required. Similarly, if we work for Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam, through our senses, if we are working to please Krishna, then what happens? Krishna keeps us happy. We are automatically happy. We are in pleasure always. So that is the purpose of yajna. So yajna, when we perform any of our activities, our karma, our activities, if we perform it for the pleasure of Krishna, for pleasing Krishna, then it becomes yajna. Yajnaya acharata karma. Then what happens? Samagram praviliyate. Everything, all the karmas that we have acquired, praviliyate, it gets destroyed, and then we get actually liberated from the cycle. So I'll stop right there. Let's see if there are any comments, questions.
Thank you, Shyam Prabhu. If any devotees have any comments, questions, please raise your hand virtually. And if you don't know how to do that, just take yourself off of mute and speak. Okay, let's see, Mother Vindyavali, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for a nice class. My humble obeisances. Actually, you said Krishna is the, that is why he is in the yajna also, you said. That's why he's called Yajna Purusha or something like that, Prabhu. Krishna?
Mataji, I'm sorry. Your question is Krishna is yajna and that is why it's called Yajna Purusha? Yes, so that is another name for Krishna. Yajno vai Vishnu. So that is in the Vedas, one other name for Krishna is Yajna. And that is why Yajnaya Acharataha Karma. So one should perform their activities exclusively for Krishna and then Samagram Praviliyate. All our karma, it gets destroyed, gets burned.
But this one is also Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmagna Brahmana Uttam Brahmaivati Brahmakarma Samadhina. That was also a very good sloka, Prabhu. I like that meaning of that. A person fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And that's what you said, he's sure attains, and then because of his full contribution to spiritual activities. So that was, I didn't know that much meaning before, but I used to do every time whenever I offer prasadam to God. So I always used to say that sloka. I don't know whether it was right or not. But
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Hare Krishna, Shyam Prabhu. I want to ask with regards to the yajna, one of the most popular ways we hear of yajna is the Sankirtan yajna. And can you explain how the process of Sankirtan is performing a yajna? Because one may think, okay, I'm going out, I'm just doing, I'm singing the Lord's names, but is that actual yajna in the traditional sense, but yet can you explain how that is performing yajna of this age?
Thank you, Prabhu. So Sankirtan Yajna, actually ISKCON, our movement based on Sankirtan Yajna. So Krishna is talking about all these different yajnas where there are many of these yajnas. Depending on one's inclination, they can pick one or the other. But for this Kali Yuga, there is a specific mention of Sankirtan Yajna. It says, Harer Nama, Harer Nameva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva Gatir Anyata. Nama Yajna. So this Nama Yajna, when performed, actually does the same, has the same effect as what all these yajnas are doing. What? Samagram pravidiyate. Through how? Through Nana Vastita Chetasaha. So our mind gets situated in Nana. How? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. What does it do? Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Chetaha, our mind, which is compared to a mirror that has dust settled on it, which is why we are in this ignorant position of wanting to be the enjoyers, not wanting to be the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this Chetaha, whose darpanam is dirty, whose mind is dirty, Marjanam, it's cleansed by what? Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. This Sankirtan Yajna especially is preferred in Kali Yuga. So it has the same effect where we actually go to Lord Krishna. Actually, Srila Prabhupada talked about 4 Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha in the purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us a 5th one. What is it? Premaha Pumarto Mahan. So through Sankirtan Yajna, through following the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can actually go beyond moksha. The real self, Jiver Swarupa Krishnera Nityadas, our eternal constitutional position is we are eternal servants of Krishna. So when we are servants, we have to serve Krishna. In order to serve Krishna, if we don't have that love, then it doesn't become necessarily a good solution. So that love of Godhead, prema, is developed by following the Sankirtan movement, by chanting of the holy name, especially in Kali Yuga. Does that does that answer, Bruna Prabhu?
Yeah, thank you for that explanation. I appreciate that very much. Let's see, we have
Prabhu, I have one more question, Prabhu. See, in this other sloka, it says Dravya Yajna, Tapo Yajna, Yoga Yajna. That sloka, it says, it's strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their positions and performing severe austerities, and practice yoga, enlightened mysticism, studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. And here also it says, in that purport, it says, like Dharmasala, Annakshetra, Atidisala, Anantalaya, and Vidyapita. These are also like charitable things, So sacrificing things, it comes into that. Can you explain that?
So whatever one has, he has to understand it is whatever one has in his position, whether it is dravya. Dravya is one's acquired resources. Whatever Buddhist Prabhupada gave here. So if one is able to use that as an offering to Krishna for Krishna's pleasure, without mama or ahankara. That is why nirmama nirahankara. Then it becomes yajna. Because there are people who maybe, as Prabhupada said, there gradually one elevates to Krishna consciousness. They may be at different stages in their advancement towards going to Krishna. So if they have their resources in terms of what they have acquired, if that could be used for Krishna's pleasure, that becomes yajna. So that becomes yagnaya acharata karma. Is that okay?
Thank you, Prabhu.
We have two more people. We have Mitravinda Devi Dasi, and then after that, Ram Shyam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please
Hare
accept my
Krishna.
obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm wishing well for you and your wonderful family, your beautiful wife and daughter. Thank you so much for giving class today. It's such a special treat to hear a class from you, in the meantime. From an introspective place, this aspect of serving Krishna, in serving Krishna, the desire and the goal should be that one is doing everything for Krishna, which in this material world is a struggle for most, very many, except for those who are pure devotees. Would you please reflect on, aspects of jnana or knowledge, and being introspective as to what you're offering and how one can really be honest with whether they're doing it for Krishna or for friends or to satisfy senses. Ultimately, Krishna is so kind that he gives benefit for everything that we do. But as it regards yajna involves a vow generally, and right deeds that equate to serving Krishna with one's heart. But because there's so many contaminations that come along with these bodies and senses, would you please elaborate on those gray areas that can confuse many as to whether they're actually serving themselves or serving their senses, bodily desires, minds, etc., and what one can do to rectify that? Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Actually, your question reminded me, and your quotation about how difficult it is, that this is a struggle. It reminded me a quote from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is simple but not easy. Prabhupada said this. So what it means is, there are struggles. We have to go through the struggles, but the hope is what? Krishna is Saragrahi. He takes the essence of what we are. So we cannot actually cheat Krishna. He knows us inside out. So as long as we are honest, sincere, that reaches Krishna. He accepts even with faults. He knows we are not perfect. But our sincerity, with what we bhava, the intention with which we want to serve Krishna, that is seen by Krishna. So we should keep that in mind. So if we cannot complete our journey in this life, it's okay. Nothing. Actually, we don't lose anything. Neha vikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate. In this endeavor, there is no loss. So we'll continue from where we left off. As long as we have that hope, we have to have that faith in Krishna. Ashraddha dana purushaha dharmasya asya parantapa. If you don't have that faith in this dharma, what Krishna is talking, aprapya mam nivartante, you won't get me, you'll come back. Mritya samsara vartmani. It's fine, we can come back. But we want to have that faith on Krishna. Krishna is my eternal father. Krishna is the only link that I have, that I've forgotten. Everything else is temporary. Every connection that we have right now whether it is spouse, whether it is children, whether it's parents, friends, everything is temporary. Only real connection that I have is Krishna, and I have forgotten that. So once we try to reinvigorate that connection, Krishna won't leave us, even if we leave us. Krishna says, Aham smarami mad bhaktaha. Lord Varahadev says, actually, he is giving, Lord Varahadev is giving a promise in Varaha Purana to Mother Earth that, it's difficult in Kali Yuga. How can these people come back to you? Krishna says, even if they do a little bit, Krishna says, at the end of their life, Aham smarami mad bhaktaha. I'll remember them. So we have that assurance from Krishna. So we should use that and carry on our devotional service. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for confirming that we can lie to each other, but Krishna knows everything and we can never cheat Krishna, and he's still compassionate to us. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj ki jai. So this is only for comment, Prabhuji, no question. So yeah, your class was really wonderful. So you had many contents. So especially I liked, like the way you explained about the yagyasya. So I mean, one who performed no sacrifice. So very clearly you defined that, and the way you said like praviliyate, those who perform the yagya. So all the karma get vanishes, all the karma goes up. So the way you put that liyate, then viliyate, then praviliyate. So it was really wonderful explanation, Prabhuji. I like that. And the analogy you put for, like the silo, the farmer, in the farmhouse, he keep on putting the grains year after year, year after year. So after that, he's getting from the bottom, the one who put the good grains earlier, and even the bad grains he got, later. So the karma, whatever we are doing this time, and whatever we have done in the past, so maybe we have done in the past good karma, we are getting good results. So this analogy was really, really good project. As well, you gave the example for, like the thief until he get caught. So, and the ticking over tickets. So, speeding. So overall class was really wonderful, and so I appreciate project. Thank you so much for wonderful session.
Thank you.
Prabhu, I appreciated your analogy of the speeding ticket as well. I wanted to say that the speeding ticket and, when there is a police or, highway patrol and they spot you and they pull you over for that ticket, there's a feeling of remorse, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I was just trying to get somewhere, or maybe I was frolicking with friends or racing, but then, it's now I'm caught. And in that way, whether, generally they give one a ticket, then whether your friend pays for that ticket or not, or you pay for that ticket, there's a debt to be paid. And now that gives more realization on whether it was actually worth it or not. So in this way, if we're serving Krishna with our heart versus our senses, our own desires, there is the best benefit in desiring and learning more on how to do that through yagya. Thank you, Krishna.
The conch shell is blowing in the background. I don't know if you could hear it, the conch shell blowing. So again, we thank all the devotees for coming out tonight, especially special thanks to Shyam Prabhu for speaking so nicely on this verse of the Bhagavad Gita in the process of Yajna. We want to encourage the devotees during this time when we're not able to assemble in the temple to please come and join us online. We have many online classes that you can be a part of in the morning time at 7:50 every day. We have Srimad Bhagavatam class. Wednesdays is Chaitanya Charitamrita with Vishnu Prabhu. In the evenings, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we have Bhagavad Gita from 5 o'clock to 5:30. And then on Thursday, it's our Srila Prabhupada Leela night from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We learn about the different pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. Right now, we're studying the book by His Holiness Giriraj Swami, I'll Build You a Temple, that speaks about the Juhu Hare Krishna Land Project. And then on Sundays, we're going to continue with this virtual online class, at least till the end of January, and hopefully starting in February, we can begin to assemble again, but we'll make that determination then. In the meantime, it's very important that we stay close together. So we thank the devotees that are watching on both Zoom as well as YouTube. Try to encourage devotees to tune in, tell your friends and devotees that you talk to, because the more you stay connected, the easier it will be to get through this time. And a lot of people are suffering from either loneliness or just, here we go again. Just when we thought we were out of it, we're back in it. But we can get through this together if we can use Krishna to be that connector, to give us that solace during this time. So this at this time, I'll ask if there's any questions about the temple program, timings, or anything like that. If not, we'll conclude.
Excuse me, Prabhu. I have a question about the Darshan Hours. I've showed up on numerous occasions around the lunchtime hour, and I was just wondering, because we offer this, if there'd be any way of contact if the doors weren't open and unlocked. What should we do about this?
Sure. So the Darshan, thank you, Jackie. I'm not sure which day you come. Which day were you coming for lunchtime?
I randomly show up. Honestly, I try to make it either in the afternoon or the evenings, but because of my busy schedule, it's just I randomly get there. And I know that maybe somebody else has had this issue as well. So I was just wondering how we might be able to fix that. Because I do know a lot of devotees travel far, or they're rushing on their lunch hour or their dinner hour, whatever it may be, because of hectic scheduling. Is there a phone number or of somebody we could contact at all?
So the temple hours, and I know it's confusing because we go back and forth before, but one of the things that we don't do is we don't open up the temple during the daytime. The Darshan hours are from 6:30 in the evening to 8 o'clock. And there's a reason for that, because in the evening we have somebody at the desk, and on our part, we want to make sure everything is safe. The people that come in are wearing their masks. Family just came in, somebody didn't have their mask on. So somebody has to be there to monitor that and do that. So we're not allowing, we actually haven't been. I understand sometimes people come and they get in, somebody may be walking by and they open the door for them at that time. But nothing as far as the schedule, we just have evening hours at this time. On Sunday, we do have Darshan open at noon, because that is a time where we've opened up on Sunday at noon. But during the week, Monday through Saturday, it's just evening from 6:30 to 8.
The only reason I ask is because in all of the emails, it does state 11:30 to 12:30, and then the evening hours as well. So I have been showing up in the afternoon not knowing this. So thank you for clearing that up for me.
Yeah, I'll take another look at it. That may have been a mistake on my part. I think we can double check that, because on Sunday we do 11:30 to 12:30. But I will take another look at that and make the correction going forward if it's there.
No, thank you very much. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Anything else? Okay. Hare Krishna. One last thing. The milk delivery will come on Tuesday. The pasteurizer went down at Gitanagari. So the technician was there today fixing it. So Gitanagari will actually deliver the milk on Tuesday. So there's a WhatsApp group for those that are getting milk. Please get in touch through that WhatsApp group. I think there are messages on there right now as to when it's going to come, but I just want to make that announcement in case anybody was planning on coming tonight to pick it up. It will not be available due to that failure in the machinery. Okay, we hope you all have a wonderful Krishna conscious week. We hope to see you online and again during the temple darshan hours, Monday through Saturday, 6:30 to 8 o'clock. Sunday, 11:30 to 12:30, and 6 o'clock to 7:15. Hare Krishna. Again, Shyam Prabhu, our special thanks to you for joining us tonight. Kripa Sindhu Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.